Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. So I figured I'd jump onto Sarah Boone. The whole Maddie Soto case, it's gotten me pretty sick. And of course, this is another one that's very long and ongoing, but it's disturbing, but not in that same way. So there's been some new postings on the clerk's website, so I'm going to go through those. And also, I did get the records from the JAC with how much the state has paid through the JACS for Sarah's case. I know another channel has covered it, at least one other channel, but I wanted to go through it here, especially since I am a Florida taxpayer and this is all coming out of our taxes, so yeehaw to that. All right, so this is the Orange County Clerk's website. Some of you, if you're not familiar with it, it is a public record, as I've stated before. You can go on here and look up stuff. A lot of it is public docs for Sarah. I haven't seen as many non-public or confidential stuff on her docket really yet, but so there's been some few things going on. We've had, you see down here at the bottom here, there was more here and it looks like it's disappeared. I don't know if it's like another page. I could take a look, but there's nothing really too vital there. Basically, her attorney Owens, has filed to do the battered spouse, the defense. So now, the state, as you can see here on 9/9, the state of Florida, they're not going for it. So we're going to go through that one first. So this was again filed on September 9th, and it is the state's motion to strike defendant's notice of intent to rely on the defense of battered spouse syndrome, and state's motion in limine, and state's motion for examination by a state expert. Comes now the state of Florida by and through the undersigned assistant state attorney, and states and alleges the follows. On September 6, 2024, the defendant filed a notice of intent to rely on the defense of battered spouse syndrome. The Florida Rule of Criminal Procedure 3.201b requires the defendant to include, quote, a statement of particulars showing the nature of the defense the defendant expects to prove, unquote. The defendant's notice does not include any particular facts, which if produced at trial would allow for Dr. Julie Harper to opine that the defendant suffered from battered spouse syndrome. Therefore, the defendant's notice is legally insufficient and the court should strike the notice. Furthermore, the defendant only lists Dr. Julie Harper as a witness to show the defendant suffered from battered spouse syndrome. An expert witness cannot be used as a conduit to introduce inadmissible hearsay evidence, such as the defendant offering the defendant's hearsay statements. Florida Statute 90.704. Therefore, the defendant should be precluded from mentioning battered spouse syndrome in her opening statement, and Dr. Julie Harper should be precluded from testifying until the defendant testifies to underlying facts that would allow for her expert's testimony. And then they list some cases there. The defendant has previously provided statements to law enforcement. Therein, she claims she accidentally left the victim in the suitcase overnight. Battered spouse syndrome testimony is not admissible if her defense is that killing the victim was an accident. That's a very good point. And there's a Wagner versus State. Defendant should be precluded from mentioning battered spouse syndrome in her opening statement, and Dr. Julie Harper should be precluded from testifying until the defendant has presented evidence of a justifiable use of deadly force. Finally, the state requests the defendant be ordered to submit an examination by an expert of the state's choosing. And there's another one, Dilbert versus State. And it's, of course, signed here. I certify that a copy has been furnished to James Sullivan Owens. And it looks like these other attorney working with him, there's a Kevin Beck in New Mexico. And it's signed by the Assistant District State Attorney, William Robert J. So the state's going, yeah, no. They're not going for it. And that's really kind of been her only defense, right? That she's a battered spouse. And I think the body cams, that's, I mean, we're not even talking about the night of, the day, the night before, where she took the video of him in the suitcase and she's telling him to F off and he's begging to come out because he can't breathe. But look at all those body cams I've been putting up and we've all had going around. There's no way she could go with battered spouse syndrome. They both pretty much abused each other, in my opinion, but I think she was much worse than George. So there's going to be another hearing, and they have the notice of a hearing here. I think this is probably for the 19th. Yep. All right, so here is the notice. You will please take notice that the state of Florida, by and through the undersigned assistant state attorney, will call up for hearing before the Honorable Michael Kranick, judge of the above style court in courtroom 12A of the Orange County Courthouse, 425 North Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida, 32801, on September 19th, 2024 at 1:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as counsel may be heard. The following. This is where they're going to hear that they're striking here. The state's motion to strike defendant's notice of intent to rely on the defense of battered spouse syndrome in state's motion in limine and state's motion for examination by state experts. Please be governed accordingly. And this one is actually signed by Dave Cacciatore. So yeah, they're going, no, we're not buying this at all. And there's a notice of appearance. Okay, so it looks like Owens is going to have someone with him. A Tony Anderson enters his appearance as co-counsel to James Owens on behalf of the defendant Sarah Boone. So that looks like he's probably one of his friends that works with him. Remember, Owen said he had a couple friends, I think, that work with him, or they're friends in the area, whatever. They're going to work with him, and then he also has one in New Mexico. So she's got like 3 or 4 lawyers now. And here's a notice of filing, and it looks like they're trying to get, this is just looking for discovery. They just gave discovery, it looks like, to James Owens and Kevin Beck. So they've given them, as of September 11th, they gave them the previous deposition transcripts. So that's been taken care of. And again, right here, 9/19 is the hearing, and it's going to be at 1:30 p.m. And fortunately, I'll be working, but I will cover that after work, and I will get that up for you guys. And we still have, of course, 9/26 for the trial management and 10/7 for the hearing. So we're still a go for 10/7. Judge Kranick, so far, he's not going to change anything. I don't think he will, but there's always a very slim possibility that he could. So you never know. All right. So this is the Justice Administrative Commission, the JAC, which is what it's always being referred to. The paid invoice detail for Sarah Boone. This is from February 2nd, 2020 through September 9th of 2024. And you can see, wow, look at all this stuff. You got crime scene processing. I don't think there's any dates on some of these things. This one may be from the beginning here. Let's see. So basically, though, for the crime scene processing, that cost $3,735. Looks like they get paid at a rate of $150, I'm assuming, an hour. And then there's in-state travel due processing, another $45 for crime scene processing, another $352. There's $600 investigative, another $2,070 for crime scene processing. And there's more in-state travel, due process. You got more crime scene processing for $776 investigative, $400 for investigative. That might be her investigator. Let's see. And then you keep going down here. You got more crime scene processing. I'm telling you, it's expensive to process a crime scene. Looks like the travel stuff doesn't seem too crazy to me, but I could skim down here. Then you got a media analysis, $7,340. That's crazy. And then you have another over 1,200 for investigative, another 648 in-state travel for an attorney, 513.89, and then there's hotels for the in-state travel attorney. Another investigative for 1,652, another 828. There's more travel. Let's see. Oops. Yeah, this is like 3 pages long, so this is more stuff. So, like I said, this is from the beginning. So this is probably some of her earlier attorneys. I mean, this has probably got her initial attorneys. I'm blanking on her first two, but I know she had Bankowitz for a long time. Hobson was on there a very short period of time, and then Cashman. But yeah, she's got a lot of stuff that has been paid out through the JAC, which is Florida tax dollars. And then there's another media analysis for $3,640. I mean, there's medical doctors for $33, another almost $2,000 for a medical doctor. Transcripts. There's more state attorneys. Mental health, 6,660, 1,340, and then there's another almost 2,000 for investigative. There's some appearance fees and more in-state travel for an attorney. And then more investigative and more investigative for over $1,500. So I believe it's like almost $72,000 up until at least the beginning of September that has been spent through the JAC on Sarah Boone's case when you add it all up. And we're not done. So this is very disturbing. While I understand and I agree that everyone deserves their day in court, and if you can't afford to pay, you do deserve, these, the JAC to approve, payments. But, I mean, she's had 8 attorneys. I mean, this is just beyond. I don't know what the typical defendant in her shoes, how much they would basically be costing the state. That's something I have a question on. If anybody knows it offhand, please let me know in the comments. But I'll have to look that up. But I'm curious if we're already at, 2020 through September 2024, like $72,000. I mean, yikes. And she sits in there and she complains and causes all kinds of trouble. Yeah, so good old Sarah Boone. I just wanted to get this one out. Actually doing prep today. I have a minor procedure tomorrow, so I probably won't have any more content out till maybe Tuesday. I wanted to get something out just to go through this, and then of course the 19th there's that hearing. So I'm curious what Judge Cranick is going to say about this battered spouse syndrome, because like they stated, she's going to have to get up there and prove it, and all those body cams, previous calls, and the way she behaves, and the way she taunts him in the suitcase, there's just so much damning evidence against her using that defense. So, alright guys, I hope you have a great rest of the day, and most of all, stay safe.